Hello, hello, hello. Are you new? Welcome to the space. My name is Angel. Have you been here before? Lovely to have you back. Thank you so much for stopping by once again and spending some time with me. So today we are doing a VR. Which VR are we doing? That's a great question. We're doing a VR to Fairlight Tarot decks I can't pick up. I've already done the decks I can't put down tag from Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot, and I felt it was time to do a decks I can't pick up. I've recently, in the last couple of weeks, been doing a bit of a reshuffle, a reorganisation, a reassessment of my practice. That includes the decks I've got in my tarot library and in my sacred space, and so I was kind of having a bit of a look through my decks, and there are quite a few that they just don't call to me, and so I thought it's time for this to do this tag. It's time for this tag. So with that being said, let's take a look at the first deck. I've got 10 to show you, starting with, in no particular order, starting with the first one. So my first choice is the Dreaming Way Tarot. When I was going through my shelves, I was looking at this deck and thinking, I never pull this deck out. These are the backs, and I've heard from different tarot tubers over the last few years that they're not big fans of the backs. I edged mine to match the backs, so I picked out the yellows and the greens and the browns. I'm fine with the backs. I mean, I don't think they match particularly the deck, but it's all good. Now I purchased this deck, I would say, at the beginning of my journey, maybe like 2020. And I used it quite a bit at the beginning, and then of course I got a real influx of decks. And then when I go to my tarot shelves monthly, I tend to do that every month to decide what kind of decks I want to work with or what's calling to me. This one never does. It never calls to me at all. And I love the artwork, and I love the fashion in this deck. And I've got I like that it's modern. I've got nothing against the artwork. I think it's amazing. And I can't really remember what kind of a reader it was, because it was quite a long time ago that I obviously used this deck. We're talking 4 years ago now. And I've had quite a few experiences with all different kind of decks, but I don't know what it is. It's bizarre. And I just feel that there are so many other decks that are in my collection that call to me louder than this one. So this is one that I can't pick up, because it doesn't speak loud enough to me. Do you have this deck? Is it a favourite? What do you pair it with? What kind of readings do you use this for? Let me know in the comments section, I'd love to know. I would love to use it, and maybe its time will come. Oh, what's the fortune on the bottom? I don't know. Maybe its time will come. We shall see. We'll have to look at, think about it in the future if it finally turns up my practice. But that was the first deck that came to mind when I think about the decks that I can't pick up. Now, this deck I've spoken about previously. This is the Mary L. Mass Market 2nd edition. Edged in silver or gilded in silver from the box. I've spoken about this one before. I don't feel worthy enough to be using this deck, which is the reason that I never pick it up. I just feel that it's way over my head. Not because that's the experience I've had when reading with it, but I just feel that I'm not worthy to be able to use it and to receive its messages. I've spoken about this deck in a different video. Decks I'd like to use more. I think I did a VR to Mand at Mystic Mand, and I kind of shuffled the deck in that video and thought, no, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try and use it. And I think really I need to kind of just get over myself, because it's obviously my own obstacle that I've put in my own way, because about this deck or around this deck, because I could totally just use it and glean the intuitive messages that I receive. But there's this blockage that I think, no, this deck is much deeper than that. It's much more advanced than where I am on my tarot journey. And for that reason, I don't feel I can use it. I love this deck, this card, sorry. So for that reason, I never pull it out. And I feel that this deck shouldn't just, it should be deep dived, and it should be, it should have a whole month dedicated to it, and and not have any other decks that are used in conjunction with it. That's the kind of reverence I think I want to show this deck. So for that reason, it stops me using it. It's bizarre, isn't it, when we get those thoughts in our mind? But that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And you know, I'm the only one that's stopping myself. I'm the only one that's put those barriers up in my mind. So I really just need to, you know, shake them off and really just use the deck. Really just use the deck. But at the minute, it's a deck that I can't pick up. Now, following along the same thought process, the Brian Froud Fairy Oracle is another one. This is another one that makes me think I'm not worthy. I'm so not worthy. These are the backs. I purchased this one also, I reckon probably maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And it's another deck that I feel I need to deep dive. It's another deck that I feel I can't just, you know, pull it out for a quick reading. It's another deck that I feel, you know, is very mysterious. And with the Fae energy, I feel it needs to be treated with the utmost respect. Obviously, I treat all my decks with the utmost respect. It's not that I'm disrespectful to any of my decks at all, but this one just feels like it needs that little bit extra. And that's what stops me picking it up. Now, in the book, when I first got the deck, I started reading the book, and there was some exercises about, you know, choosing a card and sitting with the card and what it means to you and all that kind of thing. And I did that, and then it just kind of ebbed away. I didn't do anything else after that. And then, of course, it went back in its box, and it's sat there ever since. And whenever I see this deck, I'm like, no, I don't dare. I don't dare, because I don't... As I mentioned, I feel that this needs a deep dive, and it needs quality time with it. Yeah, exactly. My kitty cat feels the same way. Do you have this deck? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to know. What's your experience with this deck? I mean, I say that I wouldn't just ask it, any irrelevant questions. I don't tend, not irrelevant, but I don't tend to go to tarot for, oh, what should I eat for lunch? Or what should I eat for dinner? Or what should I buy at the shops today? I don't tend to go to that for those kind of questions, or to tarot for those kind of questions. I tend to use tarot for the most part for inner reflection and healing work. So, it's not, I don't know what it is. It's that same again, isn't it? It's these obstacles that I've put up in my own mind about this deck and the other decks I'm going to be talking about today, I think. But let me know in the comment section if you use this deck. Let me know your experiences, and let me know what you pair it with. Yeah, just let me know. I'd love to kind of get a bit of feedback on the deck. Let's take a look at the next one. So here's an example of having some great intentions of using decks or purchasing decks for specific practices, and then, those intentions going out the window. This is the Edgar Allan Poe Llewellyn deck. These are the backs, which I think are beautiful. I have mine in red, which I really like. This is back in order, unfortunately, because, when my decks aren't being used, they tend to go in order. So what's the word? So enthusiastic was I about this deck that I even purchased the complete stories and poems of Edgar Allan Poe, which I haven't read, which is, terrible. Getting back to the tarot deck, let's have a look at this one. I don't think I've even used it, to be honest. I don't think I've even drawn any cards from it. And this tends to sit with my Halloween decks. That's where it's stored. It's stored with my other Halloween decks. I'm going to say that I wouldn't say I have so many Halloween decks, but clearly I have too many to be using this one, because this one never gets a look in. When I look at my Halloween decks, I think, yes, I'm going to use that one, that one, that one, and that one. And this one is like, no, never calls to me. Never calls to me to be used. And it just feels like, because I've kind of put that pressure on myself, because I wanted to, read the poems and the stories in conjunction with using the deck, it all feels like a project. It feels like a bigger project than it needs to be, when I could just totally use the deck. And I'm sure in the guidebook, which I haven't looked at, there are, descriptions enough, or, explanations enough about the stories that the cards relate to. But But yeah, it's just a deck that I can't pick up because it suddenly feels like a big project, this big deep dive that I just don't want to be doing. And I think that's probably because, you know, I've been focusing a lot on my inner facets and things like that. Let's have a bit of a look for the guidebook here just to see. So this is the Ten of Wands. Telltale heart. In the oblong box, Cornelius Wyatt jumps from a sinking ship with his wife's coffin tied to his back. So there we go. So it does relate back to the tale or the Edgar Allan Poe story that the card relates to. So really, I'm making it more difficult for myself, aren't I? Yeah, I am. I've answered my own question. So the question is, will this come out at Halloween? I don't know. I've got the Halloween tarot. I've got the Trick or Treat tarot, and those kind of, you know, speak to me more than this deck. Maybe I need to use this, you know, just in the darker month and doesn't specifically need to be around Halloween. I don't know. So far, it's a deck that I just haven't picked up. Let's see if that changes by the end of 2024. Keep your fingers and your toes and your arms and your legs crossed. Watch this space. So speaking of Llewellyn decks, this is another Llewellyn deck that I haven't been using, or haven't used. This is the Animal Totem Tarot. Look at the chunky monkey of a guidebook. I mean, look at that. Delicious, delicious. And I'm going to say, which, you know, is a total contradiction, that, you know, I don't tend to use animal decks, which I've gotten better at using animal decks, but when I purchased this one, you know, you could ask yourself why I was purchasing animal decks when I didn't use animal decks, but, you know, I like the artwork. You know how that goes. And so when I purchased this one, I wasn't using animal decks so much. I haven't edged mine, and this is still in order. And this one I feel, or especially when I first purchased it, that I didn't know enough about. Maybe even that I hadn't come so far in my tarot journey, and I didn't know my animals, you know, and their meanings particularly very well, to use these cards as a tarot without always going back to the guidebook. I think I need to remind myself that, you know, I've obviously come further on my tarot journey, and the way I experienced this deck when I first, you know, purchased it, possibly 2.5 years ago, is not possibly the way that I'm going to be experiencing it now. So I think I've mentioned before in my videos about taking my decks that haven't been working for me for a test drive, and I think I forget about doing that. So maybe that's the key to it, to take these decks for a test drive a little bit more often to see if they still work or don't work, as the case may be. Now, I think I mentioned previously in a different video that I had a boss back in England when I worked there, and he hated olives. And every so often, he told me this story, that every so often he ate an olive just to double check if he still didn't dislike them, if his taste buds had changed. And I found that really bizarre at the time, but, you know, I kind of do understand it, because our tastes do change as we get older. And obviously, you know, it's the same with the tarot deck, isn't it? That what possibly didn't work for us at one point may well work for us a little bit further on in our journey. Maybe it's time to get this one out. Oh, I don't know. I love this card. Look how cute it is. And I love this King of Pentacles with a buffalo. Look, he's a buffalo. He's a buffalo. It feels like it's a bit of a sign. It's a bit of a sign, isn't it? Oh, watch this space. This one might be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I might have a bit of a play with this one to see, you know, what I'm feeling about it. I'm not looking to rehome any of these decks. I'm in no rush to do that, but I just thought this tag was really interesting to kind of see what decks I have trouble, you know, picking up. Let me just grab my kitty cat, who is scratching at a book which he clearly wants to read, or he wants to get my attention, and we're going to the next deck. So here we have a deck that I saw on Simon's channel at the Hermit's Cave a long time ago. I reckon this might have been at the start of my journey. I bought a lot of cards at the start of my journey, didn't I? I did. Let's grab this, and because I should have got another box previously, but I didn't. Now, I purchased this one. What's the word? Obviously brand new. Not sure what's happening with the cards, but we shall see what's happening with the cards in a wee second. Question is, what's happened to the Fool? That's a great question. And the Magician. Okay, we'll have a looky. Anyway, these have obviously had big borders on them, on all sides, and they were very big. And I chopped them off. I love the backs. I haven't edged mine, and I've never used this, which is bizarre, taking in mind that I come from the UK, and you know these cards really speak to me of the UK. Now I'm clearly wondering where the Fool has gone and where the Magician has gone. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to just look because that's going to really niggle me until I find them. Please, would you mind just keeping yourself entertained for a wee second? Oh, it's all higgledy-piggledy. What's all that about? Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Yeah, no, pass. I swear that sometimes there is somebody else that comes into my apartment and like uses my decks and things. Honestly, I do believe that is the case. Let's do this. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Apologies. Okay, here's the Fool. I'm sorry, that was really going to bother me. And here's the Magician. I need the cards to be back in order because that was really going to, you know, really niggle me. I'm sorry. Let's move to the ring light so you can see what's going on here as well. Yeah, so back to the artwork. This should really appeal to me because I'm from the UK originally, and a lot of these images remind me obviously of the UK. I believe Palin was from the UK. And there is a specific card, which I can't think which one it is, but there's like UK police in their uniforms. And I really like modern decks. But this one, for some bizarre, strange reason, feels too modern for me. Can that be a thing? Is that a thing? It feels too modern. Doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense when I say it. I mean, look, we've got, you know, money from the UK here. We've got pounds sterling. And the depictions in the cards are amazing. And I love these little, I don't know, you know, are they fae or spirits, or I'm not really sure. I don't know. I haven't even picked this one up for years. And it maybe comes back to what I was speaking about earlier. With maybe needing to take you for a test drive again. Hello. Do you agree? maybe that's the solution for these decks. Taking them for a bit of a test drive and seeing, you know, what comes up, what comes through. I don't know. What do we think? Do you have this deck? Let me know again in the comment section. I'd love to know. I have absolutely no intention of, you know, rehoming the deck at all. I'm quite happy for it to sit in my collection until it starts calling to me. But it's been quite a while since, you know, I've had it for a long time, and it hasn't called to me since I've received it or since I've purchased it, which makes me wonder why I purchased it. But I do love the artwork, and I don't know. Sometimes we're fickle things, aren't we? Or I'm a fickle thing. I'm suddenly going through the whole deck here. Sorry, apologies. Love this. And thinking about this now, this kind of reminds me of the Out of Hand Tarot by Jamie Sawyer. For some reason, am I allowed to? I'm really sorry. Am I allowed to do a playing with pairs really quickly? Oh, apologies. Okay, now I know it's tarot and tarot, but humour me, hear me out, bear with me. I'm just wondering if this one might open the gate or open the door for this one. I've done this previously before with other decks that, haven't been working for me. And I'm saying that. I'm also going to say that I haven't used this deck either. This was a Kickstarter that I backed. I think it was the second or third Kickstarter I backed, and it's the same again. I love it, but I feel that other decks have been calling to me a little bit with a little bit of a louder voice, and this one hasn't found its position in my practice either at the moment, and neither is this one. And of course, there are a lot of decks that have really solidified their place in my practice that are used for specific things, which obviously I go to those decks for specific things within my practice. And because these two haven't found their place, maybe that's why they're still, you know, waiting on my shelf. I don't know, but I'm kind of feeling that these two have got something going on. Yeah, I think so too. My kitty cat's kind of, you know, on board, I think. Let's just take one more. This wasn't supposed to be a playing with pairs. I do apologise. I do apologise. I don't know. What do we think? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to know. As I mentioned, I'm not rehoming any of the decks I'm speaking about today. I just wanted to get them out, have a bit of an airing, a bit of a play on my desk, and to see, you know, if they have become more accessible to me in my practice. I've got 4 more decks left. So the next one that is hard to pick up is this one. This is the Spiritual Tarot. I didn't purchase this too long ago. I love the backs. I think they are absolutely gorgeous. These are the edges which are unedged. Wait, what? And this is the deck which obviously isn't in order. And I just haven't felt called to use it. What can I say? Other decks have been calling louder to me. Oh, goodness me, all they're saying that. Look at this, is another bison. If you're wondering why I'm reacting to the bison is my spirit ally. And I never feel that bison appear very often, generally, you know. And then suddenly, you know, I will see a bison, you know, I'll get this, you know, a bison that comes into my line of sight through some kind of, you know, obviously some kind of tarot deck or picture or, you know, I don't know. I think not the last time I saw a picture of a bison, but one of the most unusual times I've seen a picture of a bison was I followed this man into the supermarket quite a few months ago now, and he had a bison on his back, on his not an animal. He wasn't carrying a bison to the supermarket, but he was walking into the supermarket, and his jacket had a bison on it, and it was so random. I didn't see bisons anywhere, and then when this bison energy turned up for me, I suddenly started seeing it everywhere. And I've mentioned before, you know, the bison is not an animal that I would think about having as an animal ally. You know, it may be a cat or a fox or a wolf or something like that, but a bison was just so random. And then when these images started showing up for me, these messages started coming through, I was like, oh wow, you know, the bison energy is really, really strong for me. And so, you know, sometimes, or, you know, very recently, I haven't had any kind of synchronicities with bisons at all. It's kind of gone a bit quiet, and now 2 have shown up in this video, so that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to pull out my decks for the bison energy to connect with it and see if there's any messages coming through. I stopped on this card because this is absolutely gorgeous, and now I'm thinking there is a little bit of a fantasy feel to this deck, which makes me suddenly think if this would be, you know, a good deck to use for Dawn Michelle's Fellowship of the Weavers practice. I've never looked at the guidebook for this deck. Could I be so bold as to look at the guidebook? Would you mind? This is a Lo Scarabeo deck. Did I mention that? So the guidebook has got several different languages in. Let's take a look at the. Let's not do it. Let's do a minor, because obviously the mages have got quite a lot of information. Let's do the 9 of Wands. Oh, my kitty cat is a cheeky monster. But you've missed hearing him, haven't you? Okay, the 9 of Wands, the voice. Soon we shall begin preparing for the conclusion. Every aspect has occupied energy and effort and allowed us to face challenge after challenge. Now is the time that precedes the ending, bringing us to fulfilment. It is not time for weariness, rather fortitude of mind and great inner strength. The vision. A shirtless, proud man is wrapping bands around his hands to wield his weapons, ready for the final battle. He has his war staff and inlaid javelin beside him, Other wands stand around him, creating his battlefield, his sacred space, in which the sun is drawn in the sand. So that's really good, isn't it? There's a bit of the voice has got a bit of a message in the explanation, and the vision has got, it explains what's going on in the actual deck. That's really good. I'm thinking maybe I should look at this. This is amazing. I'm suddenly remembering why I pulled this, and this is beautiful as well. Sorry, I'm in touch with myself. And now I'm suddenly remembering why I brought this into my collection in the first place. Did I mention that I saw this on Sylvain's channel? Sylvain's Deadly Sins, that's the channel name. I mean, look, why am I not using this? Why is this not calling to me, and why am I not picking it up? Oh, it's sacrilege. Look at this. This is gorgeous as well. Okay, watch this space. I'm hoping now that this has kind of, ignited the spark to use this deck. So fingers crossed it will be a deck that I will be picking up in the near future. And this might come as a surprise. The next one is the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. This is the mass market version. These are the backs. I've edged mine in hot pink and yellow because, why not? And these are absolutely gorgeous. Now, there is a second edition out of this deck, and I was kind of contemplating purchasing that second edition, or the newer edition, because I believe the cardstock is a little bit different. There are no borders on the cards, and I feel that the colours are a little bit, or they're not as vibrant, which kind of puts me off because I love the vibrancy of this deck. What I don't like about the deck is the cardstock. I don't think I'm a cardstock snob, but this deck makes me feel like a cardstock snob. Wait. Cardstock snob. That was a bit of a... that got me all tongue-tied. Does this not remind you of pink? Is that just me? Possibly it's just me. Now, I've tried to use this deck. I have had this deck in rotation, and it sits, in my monthly decks, looking at me like, woo, come and use me, woo. But the other decks that I've chosen for that month are like, come and use me, I've got a message for you. So this one doesn't ever get a look in. But the artwork is absolutely fabulous. I think what I was kind of contemplating, I've spoken about this in a different video, cutting the borders off. And a lovely subscriber mentioned in the comment section that it might make the deck even harder to shuffle, because obviously the cardstock is quite thick. But I do wish that the titles went on these cards, because the titles are already on the cards. So I think that's a bit of a shame. Every card has already had, the title's already written on the card somewhere. Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of doing a playing with pairs again. Tarot with tarot. May I? Am I allowed? Oh, I'm really sorry. I've got to. Okay, so this is the 8 coins tattoo tarot. I could probably do a second part of this VR, because there are quite a few decks that I just don't pick up. Now, I love this deck. This was a deck that I got really on it also in my journey. I feel like I've obviously, a lot of my decks that I got early on, I just don't pick up anymore, or I haven't used them at all, which is, like I mentioned, a terrible, terrible waste. What kind of hit me suddenly was this, this writing of the title of the card in the actual card, in the artwork, sorry, I'll get my words out in the end, kind of reminds me of this deck. Hence the reason that, I suddenly thought about bringing it forward, basically. And I'm kind of wondering again, like I mentioned with the last playing with pairs, if by using this deck, it might open the door for this deck. I mean, the Lovers and the Ace of Cups, that's lovely. This is just gorgeous. Temperance and the Four of Swords. I'm kind of feeling it. Oh dear. Death in the Tower. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of feeling it. Oh, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Let me know in the comment section. Again, I don't have anything against using tarot and tarot. I use the Darkwood Tarot and the Horror Tarot as a pairing. Love them. Love those two together. Oh, okay. We're going to do two more. Two more. Last one. I think I like it. And this is another one that gets overlooked because, you know, there are other decks that have got louder voices. Oh, this video might have opened up some doors and some portals to be using new decks in new combinations, you know. Watch this space. Watch this space. Okay, last two decks. This one is the Circle of Life Tarot. This was a second-hand deck that I found. I think I purchased it on eBay, if memory serves correctly. Whoopsie. Sorry, I'm throwing things about. Amazing backs. Look at these. They're beautiful. The mandalas on the back. And I've never used it because, you know, I just cannot pick it up. I just cannot pick it up. I would love to. And this is another deck that feels like I haven't gained entrance to the doorway. Saying that, this looks like this person's going into a doorway. The Empress is going into a doorway, or maybe it's possibly a mirror. But that's how I feel about this deck. I feel that I haven't been invited to use it as yet. And it is really, really beautiful. This is amazing. I don't see this one very often on TarotTube. Now when I think about it, look at this. This is amazing as well. And I feel that this kind of goes its own way, artwork-wise. It doesn't. I don't find it that it follows the RWS, which, you know, it doesn't matter. That's fine. However, this deck doesn't give me any intuitive hits either. There are some decks that, you know, you get that intuitive hit, don't you? And this deck doesn't particularly do that for me. But maybe it's just because I haven't found the right pairing with it and I haven't found the right deck to open that doorway. Maybe it's time to do another playing with pairs video. You know, bring out these decks that I'm not using and see if by pairing them they kind of, what's the word? Allow me access. I don't know. That could be a possibility. Watch this space. We've got one more deck. Let's take a look at the last one. So the final deck is the Shadowland Tarot. Mass market deck. Beautiful deck. This is one that I definitely cannot pick up. And the reason for that is the gilding. Awful gilding. Awful gilding. And I've been umming and ahhing since I purchased this deck. Ooh, maybe like 2 years ago or something. Possibly 3 years ago. I've been, you know, contemplating, should I chop off the board, chop off the gilding? Should I not chop off the gilding? What should I do? Ooh, don't know. And I haven't done anything. So it's just sat in its box, which is a terrible waste. I think the artwork is amazing. It's a deck that I don't feel is just like for the Halloween season or the scary season or the spooky season. I feel that this deck, or I feel I could use this deck all year round. It kind of reminds me of like old storybooks that I used to read as a child with these figures. They're quite, you know, don't know. It reminds me a little bit of a what was that program? Was it called The Trapdoor or something like that? I'm going to put a picture in here to give you a bit of an idea. I think it was from like the 80s, a children's program from the 80s. I think it was called The Trapdoor. And it gives me that vibe, so it reminds me of that. So I don't find these, you know, pictures scary or anything like that, or, you know, love this, look at this. And look, taking the little lobster for a walk, love that. So this deck would like totally, you know, it totally makes me smile and it rings my bell. And the only reason I don't pick it up is because of the gilding. And this is the only deck that I think that I've kind of, that the gilding has kind of stopped me. Other decks I've had that with the gilding where it doesn't work for me, I've chopped it off. And I don't know what it is about this one that I haven't, or that has stopped me from doing that. I don't know. And I think, you know, a wee while ago I was in on, you know, should I keep it or should I sell it on? Because you know, I don't like the gilding. And it's not even an indie deck whereby I'm thinking, oh, you know, I can't cut into that. I can't spoil the deck. And at the end of the day, it's my deck. I can do what I want with it, really. I think it might just be time to lock the gilding off and just use it. Maybe I should just do that. What do we think? Let me know in the comment section. SOS. I've asked this question before, and I got some excellent responses, but I just need a bit of a moral, what's the word? A moral boost to say, yay, 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 do it. It'll all be good in the end. Anyway, there we have it. 10 decks, a couple of playing with pairs, which was not the meaning. Apologies. Yeah, let me know in the comment section, what are the decks that you cannot pick up? Let me know. I'd love to, you know, hear your thoughts. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you for coming along with me. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Take care. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Toodaloo!